Hey everyone, and welcome to Dinar Today. I'm thrilled you're here because what we're about to discuss is nothing short of monumental. If you've been holding Iraqi Dinar, if you've been watching the markets, or if you've simply been waiting for that one decisive signal that could change everything, then this is the moment you've been anticipating. Today, we're diving deep into breaking news that has sent shockwaves through the dinar community. The International Monetary Fund has officially given Iraq the green light, and what this means for the Iraqi dinar could be absolutely transformative. We're talking about the potential for a massive revaluation of the IQD, a shift that could fundamentally alter the landscape for holders worldwide. Now, I know there's been a lot of speculation over the years. Rumors, theories, and countless predictions have circulated through forums, social media groups, and investment communities. But what we're discussing today isn't speculation. This is about official institutional movement, verified policy changes, and concrete steps that are being taken right now. So, whether you're a long-term holder who's been in this for years, or someone who's just starting to pay attention to the Iraqi dinar, make sure you stay with me through this entire video because I'm going to break down everything you need to know in clear, straightforward terms. No hype, no exaggeration, just the facts and what they mean for you. Let me start by setting the stage. The International Monetary Fund, as you probably know, is one of the most influential financial institutions in the world. With 190 member countries and a mission to ensure global monetary cooperation and financial stability, the IMF doesn't just hand out approvals lightly. When the IMF signals its support for a country's economic reforms and monetary policy, it carries enormous weight. It means that international financial standards are being met, that proper oversight is in place, and that the groundwork for significant economic transformation has been laid. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Iraq right now. For those who might be new to this topic, let me give you some context. The Iraqi dinar has been trading at a significantly devalued rate for many years, primarily due to the economic challenges Iraq has faced, including conflict, political instability, and the need for comprehensive financial reforms. Holders of the dinar have long believed that once Iraq stabilized its economy and implemented the necessary reforms, the currency could undergo a revaluation that would substantially increase its value. This has been the hope, the dream, and the driving force behind the dinar investment community. And now, with the IMF's green light, that possibility is moving from the realm of speculation into the realm of structured official policy. So what exactly does this IMF approval mean? Let's break it down piece by piece, because understanding the mechanics here is crucial. First and foremost, the IMF's green light establishes an official framework for monetary reform. This isn't just Iraq saying they want to revalue their currency. This is the international financial community, represented by one of its most powerful institutions, acknowledging that Iraq has met certain criteria and is ready to move forward with significant currency management changes. Think of it like getting approval to build a skyscraper. You can't just start construction whenever you feel like it. You need permits, inspections, verification that your foundation is solid, and confirmation that you're following all the proper codes and regulations. The IMF's approval is essentially that verification for Iraq's monetary policy. Second, this approval creates credibility and international confidence. When you're talking about currency valuations, confidence is everything. Investors, banks, financial institutions, and even other governments need to trust that the process is legitimate, transparent, and sustainable. The IMF's involvement provides that trust. It signals to the global financial community that Iraq is serious about its economic reforms, that proper oversight mechanisms are in place, and that the revaluation process, when it happens, will be conducted according to international standards. This kind of institutional backing is absolutely critical because it reduces the risk of volatility, market manipulation, and the kind of chaos that can occur when currency values shift without proper structure. Third, and this is particularly important for holders, the IMF approval establishes the legal and procedural framework for how a revaluation would actually occur. This means verified exchange channels, authorized banking institutions, proper documentation requirements, and secure transaction protocols. In other words, when the revaluation happens, it won't be some chaotic free-for-all. It will be a structured, controlled process with clear guidelines about how holders can participate, where they can exchange their currency, and what steps they need to take to do so safely and legally. Now, I know what many of you are thinking right now. Does this mean my dinar is going to skyrocket in value tomorrow? And I need to be completely honest with you here, because setting realistic expectations is far more valuable than selling false hope. The answer is no. This doesn't mean an immediate overnight jump. Currency revaluations of this magnitude are complex undertakings that happen in stages. The IMF approval is the green light to begin the process, to set the wheels in motion. But the actual implementation will be gradual and methodical. Think of it like turning a massive ship. You can't just jerk the wheel and expect an instant change in direction. You have to make calculated adjustments, monitor the results, and ensure stability throughout the turn. However, and this is the crucial point, the IMF green light is the clearest signal we've had in years that this process is not just possible, but probable. It's the difference between hoping something might happen someday and knowing that the official mechanisms for it to happen are now in place. For long-term holders, this represents a fundamental shift from speculation to structured anticipation. The question is no longer if the groundwork is being laid, but rather how the process will unfold and what the timeline will look like. Let's talk about why this approval happened now. Iraq hasn't been sitting idle. Over the past several years, the Iraqi government has been implementing significant economic and financial reforms. These include measures to combat corruption, increase transparency in government spending, diversify the economy beyond oil dependence, strengthen banking regulations, and align monetary policy with international standards. The IMF has been monitoring these reforms closely, providing technical assistance and offering guidance along the way. The green light we're discussing today is essentially the IMF's acknowledgement that Iraq has made sufficient progress on these fronts to warrant support for the next phase of economic development, which includes potential monetary reform. One of the key reforms that has been particularly significant is Iraq's work on unifying its exchange rate system. For years, Iraq has had multiple exchange rates, including an official rate and various market rates, which created inefficiencies, opportunities for corruption, and challenges for legitimate businesses. The process of moving toward a unified, market-based exchange rate has been a major focus of Iraq's reform efforts, and it's one of the areas where the IMF's technical support has been most valuable. The progress on this front has been a crucial factor in earning the IMF's approval for broader monetary reforms. Another critical element has been Iraq's efforts to strengthen its banking sector. A robust, well-regulated banking system is essential for any currency revaluation because these institutions will be the ones handling the exchange process, managing the influx of transactions, and ensuring compliance with international financial standards. Iraq has been working to modernize its banks, improve oversight, implement anti-money laundering measures, and train staff on international best practices. These improvements have been essential in creating the infrastructure needed to support a potential revaluation. Now, let's address something that's absolutely critical for every dinar holder to understand: security and verification. With news like this, there's always a surge in scams, fraudulent offers, and unofficial schemes designed to take advantage of people's excitement and urgency. I cannot stress this enough. When the time comes to exchange your dinar, you must only use verified, authorized banking institutions. Do not, under any circumstances, respond to unsolicited offers, online deals promising special rates, or third-party exchangers claiming to have inside connections. These are scams, plain and simple. The official revaluation process will go through established, regulated financial institutions, and there will be clear, verified announcements about how and where holders can participate. The IMF's involvement actually enhances security because it means the process will follow international protocols with proper oversight and transparency. When official exchange channels are announced, they will come through verified government communications, official bank notifications, and authorized financial news sources. If you're seeing offers on social media, in your email spam folder, or through unsolicited phone calls, treat them with extreme skepticism. The best protection you have as a holder is information, patience, and a commitment to following only official, verified guidance. Let's discuss the potential value implications. Now, I need to be very careful here because exact exchange rates have not been announced, and anyone claiming to know the specific rate is either speculating or, more likely, trying to scam you. What we can say is that the IMF's framework creates the possibility for a significant appreciation in the dinar's value. The exact magnitude will depend on a variety of factors, including Iraq's economic fundamentals, oil revenues, foreign exchange reserves, inflation rates, and the overall stability of the regional and global economy. What's important is that the institutional framework for a revaluation is now in place, which means the possibility has moved from theoretical to practical. Some analysts have suggested that a gradual appreciation, perhaps through a series of smaller revaluations rather than one massive jump, would be the most sustainable approach. This would allow the economy to adjust, give businesses time to adapt to new pricing structures, and minimize the risk of inflation or economic disruption. While this might sound less exciting than a sudden dramatic increase, it's actually a much healthier approach that would be more likely to result in long-term stability and sustained value. Let's talk about timing, because this is the question on everyone's mind. When will the actual revaluation happen? The honest answer is that we don't have a specific date, and anyone claiming to have insider knowledge of exact timing should not be trusted. What we do know is that the IMF approval accelerates the timeline significantly. We're no longer talking about vague possibilities years down the road. We're talking about a process that is now officially underway, with institutional support and a clear framework for implementation. The gradual nature of currency revaluations means that various preparatory steps need to happen first. Banks need to update their systems and train their staff. Government agencies need to coordinate procedures. International financial institutions need to align their protocols. Documentation and verification processes need to be established. All of this takes time, but it's time that's being actively used to prepare for implementation rather than time spent waiting for approval to even begin. That's the crucial difference that the IMF green light represents. For holders, this period of preparation is actually an opportunity. It's the time to get your holdings organized, make sure you have proper documentation, understand which banks in your area are authorized to handle dinar exchanges, and educate yourself on the official process. It's far better to be prepared and wait for the right moment than to be caught off guard and have to scramble when announcements are made. Use this time wisely to position yourself for success. Let's discuss the broader economic implications, because the dinar revaluation isn't happening in a vacuum. Iraq is working to transform its entire economy, moving away from over-dependence on oil exports and building a more diversified, resilient economic foundation. The country has enormous potential, with rich natural resources, a strategic geographic location, and a young, growing population. The economic reforms that have earned the IMF's approval are designed to unlock this potential and create sustainable growth for the long term. A successfully revalued currency would be a powerful signal to international investors that Iraq is open for business, that the rule of law is strengthening, and that opportunities exist for legitimate investment and economic partnership. This could lead to increased foreign direct investment, more robust trade relationships, and greater integration into the global economy. For dinar holders, this broader economic transformation is actually more important than any single exchange rate because it's what will sustain the currency's value over time. International recognition is another crucial factor that deserves attention. When the IMF gives its approval to a country's monetary reforms, other international institutions and governments take notice. This can lead to improved access to international capital markets, more favorable trade terms, and greater acceptance of the currency in international transactions. A dinar backed by IMF-supported reforms and international recognition would be fundamentally different from the isolated, devalued currency that has existed for so many years. Now let me address the emotional side of this for a moment, because I know many of you watching this have been holding dinar for years, perhaps even decades. You've weathered countless disappointments, listened to endless predictions that didn't pan out, and probably questioned your decision more than once. The excitement you're feeling right now is completely natural and completely justified. This is the most significant official development in the dinar story in years. But I want to encourage you to channel that excitement into preparation and patience rather than impulsive action. The psychological challenge of being a long-term holder is real. After waiting so long, there's a temptation to act quickly, to jump at any opportunity, or to believe that this time everything will happen immediately. But the most successful investors are the ones who can maintain discipline even in moments of excitement. The IMF green light is fantastic news, but it's the beginning of a process, not the end. The holders who will benefit most are those who stay informed, follow official guidance, and resist the urge to take shortcuts or trust unverified sources. Let's talk about risk management, because even with this positive development, responsible investing requires acknowledging and managing risk. While the IMF approval is a strong positive signal, it doesn't eliminate all uncertainty. Global economic conditions can change. Political developments in Iraq or the region could create challenges, and the implementation process itself could face obstacles. This doesn't mean you should panic or sell your holdings, but it does mean you should maintain a balanced perspective and not put yourself in a financial position where you're overly dependent on a specific outcome. Diversification is a principle that applies to dinar holdings just as it does to any investment. If you're holding dinar, it should be part of a broader financial strategy, not your entire financial future. The excitement around potential revaluation is warranted, but it shouldn't lead to decisions that leave you financially vulnerable. Responsible holders are ones who can participate in the potential upside while maintaining overall financial stability regardless of the timeline or exact outcome. Communication and information management are also critical during this period. As news spreads about the IMF approval, you're going to see an explosion of content, commentary, and claims across social media, forums, and video platforms. Not all of this information will be accurate, and some of it will be deliberately misleading. Your best sources of information are official announcements from the Iraqi government, communications from the IMF itself, statements from established and regulated financial institutions, and reporting from credible news organizations with track records of accuracy. Be particularly skeptical of anyone claiming to have secret information, insider knowledge, or special access to the exchange process. Legitimate developments in currency valuation are public, official, and widely reported through established channels. If someone is offering you exclusive information or special opportunities, there's an extremely high probability that they're either misinformed or actively trying to scam you. Protecting yourself requires a commitment to verifying information before acting on it. Let me also address the question of what holders should be doing right now, in this moment, given this news. First, organize your physical dinar holdings. Make sure you know exactly how much you have, where it's stored, and that it's secure. If your dinar has been sitting in a drawer or safe for years, now is the time to locate it and ensure it's in good condition. Second, research which banks and financial institutions in your area are authorized to handle foreign currency exchanges and specifically which ones work with Iraqi dinar. Not all banks will participate in the exchange process, so identifying your options in advance is valuable. Third, make sure you have proper identification and any documentation that might be required for currency exchange. Banks have strict compliance requirements for large transactions, and you'll want to ensure you have everything needed to complete exchanges smoothly when the time comes. Fourth, stay connected to reliable information sources. Whether that's official government websites, established news organizations, or verified financial institutions, having a clear path to accurate information will serve you well throughout this process. Fifth, consider connecting with other holders through reputable forums or communities where you can share verified information and support each other through the process. The dinar community has existed for years, and there's value in the collective knowledge and experience of people who've been following this journey. Just be sure that any community you join has strong standards for information verification and doesn't tolerate scams or misinformation. The global financial context is also worth considering. We're living in a time of significant economic change worldwide. Central banks are navigating complex challenges around inflation, interest rates, and economic growth. International trade relationships are evolving. Geopolitical dynamics are shifting. All of these factors create a backdrop against which Iraq's monetary reforms are taking place. The fact that the IMF is supporting Iraq's revaluation efforts during this complex global environment is actually a testament to the strength of the reforms Iraq has implemented and the potential the IMF sees for success. One aspect that doesn't get discussed enough is the human element of currency revaluation. For Iraqis themselves, a stronger dinar would mean increased purchasing power, greater economic opportunity, and a tangible sign of their country's recovery and progress. For the Iraqi government, it would mean enhanced credibility, improved ability to attract investment, and greater capacity to fund infrastructure and social programs. For the international community, it would mean a more stable Middle East and new opportunities for trade and cooperation. Understanding these broader human implications helps put the investment aspect into perspective. Let's also consider the historical context of currency revaluations. While every situation is unique, we can look at other countries that have successfully revalued their currencies after periods of conflict or economic crisis. Kuwait's dinar revaluation after the Gulf War is often cited in dinar discussions, though it's important to note that the circumstances were quite different. The key lesson from historical examples is that successful revaluations are the result of comprehensive economic reforms, institutional stability, and international support. All of these elements are now present in Iraq's situation, which is why the IMF approval is so significant. The role of oil revenues in Iraq's economy is another important consideration. Iraq has some of the world's largest proven oil reserves, and oil exports are a major source of government revenue and foreign exchange. The global energy market's dynamics, including oil prices and demand, will continue to influence Iraq's economic trajectory and the sustainability of any currency revaluation. Recent efforts by Iraq to optimize its oil production, attract international oil companies, and modernize its energy infrastructure all contribute to the economic foundation that would support a stronger dinar. Technology and modernization are also playing a role in this story. Iraq has been working to modernize its payment systems, expand digital banking, and improve financial infrastructure. These technological improvements aren't just about convenience. They're essential for implementing a currency revaluation efficiently and securely. The ability to process transactions electronically, verify identities digitally, and maintain real-time oversight of currency flows is crucial for managing the complex logistics of a revaluation process. Let me address one more misconception that often circulates in dinar discussions. The idea that there's some kind of conspiracy to suppress the dinar's value, or that revaluation has been ready to go for years but is being deliberately blocked. The reality is that currency valuations are determined by complex economic fundamentals, not secret deals or hidden agendas. The reason the dinar has remained devalued is because Iraq has been working through very real economic challenges, building institutional capacity, and implementing necessary reform. The IMF's approval now signals that sufficient progress has been made to support the next phase, but that progress has required years of genuine effort and reform. As we look ahead to what comes next, it's important to maintain realistic expectations while staying optimistic about the potential. The IMF green light is a major milestone, perhaps the most significant development in the dinar story in years. It establishes that the framework for revaluation exists, that international support is in place, and that the process is moving forward. However, the timeline for full implementation will be measured in months or potentially longer, not days or weeks. The magnitude of the revaluation will depend on economic fundamentals that continue to evolve, and the experience of individual holders will vary based on their preparation, their ability to access authorized exchange channels, and their understanding of the process. What I can tell you with confidence is that this is no longer a matter of if the groundwork exists, but rather how and when the process will unfold. For holders who have maintained faith through years of uncertainty, that shift from if to how and when is profound. It validates the patience you've shown, the research you've done, and the conviction you've maintained. Now, the key is to channel that validation into smart preparation, continued patience, and a commitment to participating in this process the right way through verified, authorized, secure channels. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with some final thoughts and action items. Stay informed, but be selective about your sources. Official announcements from the Iraqi government, the IMF, and established financial institutions should be your primary sources of information. Stay patient, understanding that even with the IMF green light, implementation will take time. Stay prepared by organizing your holdings, identifying authorized exchange locations, and ensuring you have proper documentation. Stay secure by avoiding unofficial offers and only using verified channels. And stay connected to reputable communities where you can share information and support with other holders. This is a historic moment for the Iraqi dinar, and if you've been holding currency, you're part of a community that has waited a long time for this kind of news. The IMF's approval doesn't guarantee specific outcomes or timelines, but it fundamentally changes the landscape by establishing that the institutional framework for revaluation is now in place. What happens next will depend on continued reform implementation, global economic conditions, and the Iraqi government's execution of its monetary policy. But for the first time in years, we're not talking about possibilities and hopes. We're talking about a structured, internationally supported process that is officially underway. Thank you so much for watching Dinar Today. If you found this deep dive valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you've turned on notifications so you don't miss any updates as this story continues to develop. Share this video with other holders who need to hear this information, because spreading accurate, verified information is one of the best things our community can do during this critical time. I'll be here bringing you updates, analysis, and verified information as this process unfolds. Remember, stay informed, stay patient, stay prepared, and most importantly, stay safe. The future is looking brighter for the Iraqi dinar, and when the time comes to act, you'll be ready. I'll see you in the next video.